Moving on, I think we would like to focus a little bit more on the Sungai Perak scheme. There are actually a few questions here, but I'll combine them. Why are we so fixated on this scheme? And then, if Perak already says they don't have enough water, it is very unlikely that they will sell the water to us. Is this game over point for Penang? And if there is no Sungai Perak, can we survive?
Okay.
Please.
As I told you, when PBA realized that Sungai Muda can only supply water to Penang until 2025, Sungai Muda cannot supply water to Penang beyond 2025 because any additional demand must be met by another reliable source. So we identified in 2009 already that Sungai Perak is the river because in a study we found excess water is being wasted and flowing into the Malacca Straits from Sungai Perak. And it's the first time we did a helicopter study where it will benefit Northern Perak and Penang. It is the most cost-efficient way of getting additional water. It's a surface water and it is very near Penang and therefore it is cost efficient and it can give a reliable yield until 2050 for both North Perak and Penang. And the federal government have agreed when we restructured, we joined the restructuring in 2011. It is the business model is that raw water infrastructure will be funded by federal government. So that's part of the deal, to keep water tariffs down to the consumer, I mean, the business model is if federal government funds the raw water infrastructure, the water operator do not have the burden to impose the water tariff to the public. That means it has been absorbed by the federal government. So Perak has been identified, but this delay has been going on. So like I said, we want all the stakeholders who are dependent on this water to emphasize to the federal government, look it regionally, please. This area generates so much income, so much work. Please don't mess it up. And by doing so, it is the most rational long-term plan for additional water.
Okay.
Now, if Sungai Perak, if the Perak says that you have no excess water, now during the meeting with the MB of Perak, we informed them that you cannot simply say there's not enough water. It must be defended by engineering data. There is a study currently being carried out by the federal government. Why don't you wait until the study is completed? It's supposed to be completed around now, Then we look at it lah. You cannot simply say you don't have enough water. You must show evidence because there's a study being done by the federal government. Then we look at it, that's why we will wait for that study to be finalized. It's not for Perak or the MB to say there's not enough water. It must be backed up by a study with data. Okay?
But Dato, in the past, actually, we wanted to buy raw water, but they wanted to sell processed water, treated water. So that was the problem. Do you think this is the reason why they are refusing to sell?
That whether raw or treated is now a past question already. Currently, the most important point is time. Is the timeline. the raw or treated is not relevant anymore. We want to know the timeline. Yeah, as I mentioned to you just now during the meeting, we told Perak we want to sign the agreement this year. We want to start Sungai Perak next year, so that we can finish it by 2030. Yeah, that's what we want. So now we are waiting for the study by this federal government, Tan. With that data, then we see lah. But in the meantime, like I told you, Prof. Chan, PBA don't wait for things. We have things parallel running. Okay? This is to reassure our customers that to ensure water supply security.
Okay, thank you very much, Dato'.
Okay,
I think
yeah.
for the sake of time, I think we have to move on. Maybe I would give Encik Mohideen the chance if you have anything you want to comment on or any question.
Yeah, see, Dato' Jasni, good friend of CAP, we have been supporting CAPS has been supporting all these efforts to improve the water situation. But I would like to know, we are talking about taking water from Perak and Kedah, but what is the government, state government and PBA doing about reducing high consumption of water in Penang? It has been reported that Penang is among the highest in the state. And I would like to know the steps that the PBA and the government is taking to reduce, to recycle, and our water demands. For example, an education campaign on this issue. Is there any approach to industries and this to having a plan with a time frame by which they must recycle high consumption of water, all these high consumers? That's my question to you.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Saudara Mohideen. All the while we were talking on the supply side. On the demand side, PBA is also engaged in a long-term plan. We work with NGOs, with Water Watch Penang to educate the public, yeah? But we are focused on the younger school children. We have programs to change high consumption locations with water-saving devices. Then, among the industries, we are promoting with Penang Green Council aqua-safe programs among the factories. I think David will know some of the factories joining in to do aqua-safe certification. That means whether they have done enough to save water. But finally, you know, I think Prof. Chan, we were the first to introduce the water conservation surcharge. Finally, it is the tariff that will change people's behavior. I think Tan, who used to work in Singapore, fully aware what PUB has been doing there.
That's
now,
right.
the problem with tariffs is that during this COVID, the Minister of Water says, no go. That is the problem, Mr. Mohideen. Yeah? We want to review the tariff to a reasonable figure so that the water, as you know, in Penang is the cheapest in the country.
Yes.
So when it is too cheap, they don't feel the pinch. Just like I always told people, can you put your TMB bill beside the PBA bill? And you can see the difference. Yeah?
So for the Sungai Muda, our question is, has actually the logging, that has been, talked about in the press, affecting the water quality in the Sungai Muda? And also, we know that Kedah is trying to build an airport, a Kulim airport. Proposed, will it affect the Penang water supply? And what if Kedah proceed with this Kulim airport? Dato', your comment, please.
Okay, so as you know, this is a perennial problem. When the Kedah government said that they want to continue with logging with existing licenses that have been issued, that means we are looking at about 15% of the Ulu Muda catchment. Okay, the impact will come later. Yeah, there are two things when you do logging. Number one, if you log upstream of Muda Dam, that means you log within the dam catchment area, what happens is there will be silting happening. There will be a lot of silt, and therefore it will silt up the dam. And over the years, the yield of the dam will be reduced. Therefore, quantity will be reduced. Okay? Because you imagine the dam is supposed to be filled with water. But then, because of silting, the dead storage will increase. So therefore, displacing the yield that is supposed to be stored. The second part, if logging is carried out elsewhere, within the catchment, within the river basin, then that will affect the water quality because the turbidity will increase. Yeah, the turbidity of the water will increase. So the net impact later will be quality and quantity will be affected. Now, as regards to the Kulim airport, from the engineering report that they submitted, we find that finally they're going to dump about 100 MLD of sewage into Sungai Muda. Because this point where they are dumping is only 6 kilometers upstream of our intake. So again, here, when you talk about Kulim Airport, it involves federal government, the Ministry of Transport. You cannot simply build an airport where you like. It does not make sense to build an airport a few minutes away from Bayan Lepas Airport. In the first place. Okay? So, again, the federal government must play its role. And if this project continues, then the threat to the quality of raw water is very, very risky. And we have written to recommend that this project should be relocated elsewhere. Not to dump the effluent into the Sungai Muda River.
Okay, thank you very much, Dato'. Okay, now we have time now and for the panelists to give their views on anything that Dato' has said or anything that you want to get off your chest related to this water issue in Penang, whether we have enough or not. Let's go around. We'll start with Dr. Lacey.
As I said, I think individual companies will become more efficient. I think technology will help, but the number of companies will expand, so total demand will increase. I think that's definitely the challenge. I think companies, because of environmental, social governance, ESG issues, become more important. Their focus on recycling, rainwater usage, and the like will increase. So I truly believe industry will play its part, but I think the expansion of industry will outstrip supply, given what you said. So the challenge is not individual companies, but the total demand of all companies as they grow.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lacey. Dr. Uy, Dato' Uy.
Well, I go along with Dato' Jessini's point here that all the major stakeholders have their role to play. Now, the federal government must do its job in many areas. and not treat all these states as if they are each other's enemies. And so the stakeholders, especially the private sector, perhaps the MNCs and whatnot, I'm sure they have the power to influence policies even at the center and at other levels. All those tools should be brought to bear, I think, on the question of water security for the whole northern region. We're one of the most developing industrial areas in the whole of the country. It's the federal government's job to make sure that this is sustainable. And water is in the middle of all that, of course. Thank you.
Just like in Singapore, Tan, PUB, it is even more cost efficient, Mohideen, this Northern Water Company to also handle sewage, just like in Singapore, so that we handle, David, the entire water cycle. That is the solution which most European countries have done. You don't only produce water, but you also handle the effluent. Just to keep in pace with the factories and all that, that is the way to go. Okay, Prof, I have two questions.
You don't have questions, you only answer. Okay, please.
No, but they have popped up these two questions from our people who are watching us from King's Academy.
Yes. We have
Arthur Chan, he asked, why can't we follow Hong Kong and use seawater for toilet flushing instead of using our precious treated fresh water? And also Alexa Chan, I think they are related.
Brothers and sisters.
Since Penang is a water poor state, why then does the state government use cheap industry trade water tariffs to attract foreign industries to Penang? Here, both these questions, as I think Prof. Chan, you know, I told them at the end of the day, nobody is going to do all this if the cost of water is more expensive than PBA water. That's the key. You see, we are fully aware of all the technologies, whether it's rain harvesting, recycling, reclamation, and all that. It all depends on the cost. You are not going to succeed or motivate anybody as long as PBA sells water cheaper than that. Okay? Correct or not, Tan? Yeah. So unless the price of PBA water is at a certain level, and whatever you want to do, rain harvesting, use seawater for toilet, at the end, what is the cost? If the cost is more than the price of PBA water, you can forget it. Even the factories, if my price of water is lower than what you want to do, you will buy my water, correct? Unlike in Singapore, Tan, correct? So that is the relationship, Prof. Okay?
Yes, thank you very much, Dato'.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Okay.
Unfortunately, I would say that unfortunately, PBBA has done a very good job and keep the cost so low that the people of Penang take it for granted that the water is so cheap. And because of that, I believe because of the cheap water, people become not treating it preciously. In fact, water is precious. These natural resources, if you go into the third world country, they are so precious that not many people can really enjoy clean water. And we are so clean, and we have a very good waterworks that produce water for more than 2 centuries, non-stop. And we have hardly heard of water rationings in Penang, all because of the good job of PBA. And because of that, people has been taking it for granted. So I believe, like what Mr. Mohideen has mentioned, I think it is time for us to actually educate the people to understand that actually this water don't come cheap, Frankly speaking, it is actually very, very precious. And with the stress that we are now encountering on this the Sungai Perak and also Sungai Buda, I think we should always have in mind that we have to think critically. How are we going to face and let the people know that today you may be enjoying a free flow of water. You may be facing crisis later on. So just now also we were talking about the desalination. You see, desalination, it needs a lot of energy. And again, it is not 100% friendly in the sense that from what I know, the desalination is actually pushing the seawater through a membrane to remove the salt and mineral. And that will cost every cubic meter of water with a 3.5 kilowatt hour of energy use. Of course, Singapore is now trying to do certain R&D onto electro deionizations, which reduce the energy consumption from 3.5 kilowatt hour to 1.65 kilowatt hour per cubic meter of water. However, I would say that this comes with a cost. And will the people of Penang ready to face the cost? Like what I have just mentioned before the meeting start, the water bill and electricity bill in Singapore is almost the same. If you spend a lot of time looking at the consumptions in people in Singapore, you will find that actually if you use 100 Sing dollar of electricity, most likely you'll be also using 100 Sing dollar for the water. And the water is so precious.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tan, for the enlightening comments. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our time, we have actually overrun the time. We're supposed to finish at 11, now it's 11:07. So I need to wrap it up. So thank you very much to all the panelists, particularly Yang Berbahagia, Dato' Jasni, Dato' Uy Kee Beng, Dr. David Lacey, Mr. Mohiddin Abdul Kadir, and Mr. Tan Hang Beng, who have kindly accepted our invitation to join us in this webinar. I think the take-home message is very, very simple. There are huge threats to Penang's future water, which PBA has enlightened us that they've already taken steps to try to overcome this, and we are very happy to hear that. But having heard that, it is not for us to rest on our laurels. I think the take-home message for everyone, domestic consumers, including also the big-time consumers, hotels, factories, schools, universities, they all have to come on board. Okay? If you don't want to suffer any problems in future water, no water rationing, water 24 hours every day, 24/7, you have to play your role. You have to save water. You must use it wisely. We are facing challenging times. So we need everyone to come on board. It's not just the water service provider who's responsible for our water. We as consumers should also be responsible. Okay? So with that, thank you very much again to all the panelists. I think stay safe and be happy and use water wisely. That's our final message. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.